Hello guys, welcome back. Please subscribe to the channel if you want more of this recap.
Beginning of the story, we are told about the mysterious meteorite that fell on Starland. The meteorite brought with it alien monsters that hunted and ate humans. They were given the name Hunters. In just a few years, the Hunters spread all over the world and took control. But there was one solution to the problems that the meteorite brought with it. It also triggered the process of evolution among humans, giving them the power to face the Hunters. The strongest of these evolvers was Long Ming, dubbed the King of Stars. He became the leader of the world and leads 72 powerful evolvers known as the Star Guards to establish a safe place for the surviving humans. It was the city known as Star Palace. But one day, Long Ming was defeated in a battle with Hunters, and nothing else about him was heard after that. In another world, a young man lies in a hospital. His name is Su Xiaobai and he is suffering from myasthenia gravis, a condition in which the communication between the nerves and muscles is broken down. He has been suffering from total paralysis for the last 3 years and has been unable to even cry, forget about moving. He was only 18 years but the doctors predicted that he would not be able to live any longer. His only comfort in the hospital room was a TV and his only companion was his mother. She was always crying that her son would not live any longer. Even if he did, he might never be better. But Su Xiaobai is afraid that when death comes, he will not be able to do anything. The moment of his death arrives and he passes peacefully. But then he opens up his eyes when someone calls him master. There is a beautiful woman in very revealing clothes sitting on top of him. She is worried and trying to wake him up. But Su does not see her before he realizes that he could suddenly move his hand. But then he sees her and is shocked. He asks her who she was and is shocked that he can even speak now. The girl tells him that her name is Zhao Pinger and she would be his bodyguard starting today. But then he notices the revealing clothes she is wearing and how she is comfortably sitting on top of his thighs. He tries to warn her that he was an 18-year-old man and would have a reaction to this situation that she might not like. But the only unexpected reaction is his scream. He had felt a terrible pain, almost as if someone had kicked him in the balls. That pain made him sure that this was not a dream but reality. How could this have happened? He should have died, but he was here, perfectly fine. But he has another question. He asks Zhao why she keeps calling him master. She tells him that he is the heir to the throne of Star Palace, chosen by Long Ming. He is stupefied on listening to this and thinks that the girl is making fun of him. The Star Palace was the only place where humans lived and he was the new King of Stars with the duty to protect all of them. Su does not believe it and Zhao has to show him the proof. She bites her thumb and says that the smell of blood would attract the hunters nearby. Su is shocked when he finds that a group of zombie-like creatures came to the source of the smell. He asks Zhao if they were the hunters she talked about. She tells him that they evolved from humans to feed on humans and were the cause of the pathetic condition of the world. Su now believes Zhao and tells her to run away to safety. He plans to give her some time to escape even though he is scared. But he is more afraid that he will have to see her die if she stayed here. She decides to follow his order and flies away thinking that Long Ming chose a good man to fill in for him. But Su is shocked when he sees Zhao fly away. He was just assuming that she was a maiden in distress and he had to save her. Now he was surrounded by hunters that wanted to kill him. But he assumes that they were only zombies and could not run fast enough to catch him. But the hunters prove him wrong and start to jump towards him. Su is shocked and cannot move due to fear. But he hears a voice inside his head that scolds him for being afraid. He is taken to a mysterious place and asks whose voice was that, and he can see Long Ming talking to him. Long Ming says that his soul also lives inside Su Xiaobai's body now. He needed to show courage if he wanted to survive. Zhao is watching from the sky as the hunters have piled over Su. She requests Long Ming that if his consciousness was inside the boy, he should show his unique ability, the endlessness of dim. Just then, a bright flash of purple light comes from the center of the pile of hunters and they are all blown away. Su is safe and is covered in a purple aura. He wonders if this was really the new power he got after being reincarnated. The hunters' bodies start to disintegrate, turn into purple energy orbs, and start moving towards Su. He feels that this was an attack and tries to protect himself. But then all the energy goes inside his body and he feels that it was increasing his power. Zhao comes down and explains to him the power he now had. The endlessness of dim allowed him to absorb others' power and even steal abilities. Su feels concerned that taking away others' abilities was a little too suspicious. But maybe this power was the reason he was completely healed. But as he is lost in his thoughts, Zhao kneels before him. But Su clearly tells her that he is not interested. They move to the Star Palace and Su is surprised on finding a giant wall without doors that protects the city. Zhao tells him that only the residents of the Star Palace could open the gates to enter the city. The 700 meters tall and 20-meter thick wall prevented any level of hunter to enter. She places her hand on the wall and a gate opens up to the city. Su is surprised that the inside of the city is even more advanced than the cities in his world. Outside the walls, there was a huge abyss and only bridges could lead people to the gates. The peace and safety of the Star Palace were thanks to the Star Guards. They were elite guards that protected the 12 entrances to the city day and night. They were divided into 5 ranks D, C, B, and S according to their strength. Su thinks that they were just gate guards. But as soon as they enter the city, the guard at the gate starts bullying Zhao. His name is Burst Jiang Tianmeng, and he is the number 1 level C guard. Zhao left the gate without his permission to find clues about Longming, and he tells her that Longming was dead 3 years ago. All she would find outside was his dead body. The people at his side start laughing at her. She gets angry and remembers how she used to leave the gates without permission to find Longming. People had told her that it was useless, but she had faith in Longming and never listened to anyone. She was sad and devastated when she heard that Longming had died, but she was not ready to give up her search. But Su is getting ready to take it out on the guard. He tells her that it was embarrassing for grown men to come in a group just to bully one girl. He even calls Jiang gate guard, making him angry. Jiang attacks him, but Su easily dodges his punch. His body was really agile and fast. The supporters of the guard surround him and try to attack him together. But all of them fall to the ground when Zhao uses her SR ability, Gravity Field, and increases the gravity under them 10 times. But Jiang tells her that it was useless against him and jumps to attack Su. Su catches his punch and Jiang is not ready for what comes next. He feels that his power is being drained and screams at Su to stop it. Everyone around them is as shocked as Jiang. But at the same time, some more people notice the unusual energy in the city. Star Guard level number 3, Wu Yu or the Nine-Tailed Fox, and Star Guard level S number 3, Earl Dracula, have noticed that the power of Longming was used. Su has done his work and Jiang backs away rapidly. He is shriveled and looks like he lost his muscles as well as his power. He realizes the power Su used is the endlessness of Dim. But Su is done with him and decides to go to eat with Zhao. The people who had seen him fight are shocked by his ability and strength. 2 women come to meet Zhao and ask if the guard Jiang was bothering her again. One of them is Zhang Ziqin, the best swordsman, and the other is Li Xin, the scientist. They are both Su Xiaobai's bodyguards, or will be once they know the truth about him. Zhao tells them that her master had already taken care of the annoying guard and they did not need to worry about anything. As she grabs his hand, he feels her chest rubbing his elbow, and he is worried that he might feel the pain like before if his body reacted to the situation. But the 2 women are shocked on learning that Su Xiaobai was the person they would now protect. He was chosen by Longming as the heir to his ability and his throne, and from this day, he would be their master. Su is escorted to the mansion of Longming inside the Star Palace, where he is enjoying delicious food prepared by Zhao. He eats like a glutton, and Zhang Ziqin and Li Xin are worried if he is really suited to be their new master. Qin is the first one to tell him her true feelings. She says that she does not know the reason Longming chose him, but if he let him down, she would never forgive him. Xin also agrees with what her friend said. If Su wanted to prove worthy of being Longming's heir, he would have to take the throne and become the savior of humans. Su is annoyed by the talk about the throne, and Zhao knows it even before he says it. But he is determined to completely enjoy the new life and the healthy body he has got. He exercises and wonders what being a king had to do with him. But he hears a voice that said that it had everything to do with him. Su is shocked when he turns back and sees Longming, the king of stars, in his room. Longming is really what he expected him to be, a dazzling and noble man. But why and how could he be here? He was supposed to have died 3 years ago. Longming tells Su that his body died, but his soul now lived inside his body. But he was in a very weak state, and thus Su was the only one who could see him. Su Xiaobai comes to a conclusion about why Longming brought him into this world. He confronts him and accuses Longming of trying to steal his body. But the King of Stars calmly rejects his theory. He says that he was not interested in things like that. But he had brought Su into this world to make a deal with him. Su was brought into this world with the strongest ability in the world. He would have endless riches and rights as long as he followed the plan laid out for him. But for that, he had to ascend to the throne of the Star Palace and find out who killed Longming 3 years ago. Su blatantly refuses his deal. Longming tells him that it was not so easy to refuse the deal. Su also had realized that Longming must have a way to force him to agree to his deal if he could bring him into his world. He picks up a banana from a fruit basket and asks Longming what his plan was. Longming is impressed by his wits and tells him that he put a curse on his body. When Su asks what the curse was, Longming gladly tells him. Whenever he got a boner, the curse would cause him unbearable pain. Su is suddenly terrified as he realizes what the curse meant. Longming makes it clear to him if he did not take the deal, he would be just a useless man. Su struggles with Longming for 10 minutes but cannot gain the high ground. He says that the King of Stars was a sketchy person to use such a despicable technique. But Su has another question: why was he chosen for this deal? There could be better people if he wanted things like revenge. But Longming tells him that the state Su's body was in, it was the best choice he could make. Getting through his body was as easy as tearing a piece of paper. Su thanks him for the second chance at life but decides to not take up the deal after all. He was a human and would not be used by anyone to further their own plans. Kin is sitting on the roof of Sue's room to guard him. She is bothered that he talked to himself for the entire night. But Sue is scared about the next morning. If the curse was not removed, would he wake up with pain every morning of his life? He falls asleep and someone enters his room. A goth girl with a Gatling gun to his face is standing in front of him when Sue opens his eyes. He screams and the girl asks him if he was the heir to the endlessness of Dim. Sue gets nervous and asks her to put the gun down as it was not a toy. The girl shuts him up and says that she was not a naive person like Zhao Pinger and he could not fool her. She was convinced that he had used some dirty tricks to steal Long Ming's ability. The girl's name is Wang Xiyu, the little devil, and she is the self-proclaimed little sister of Long Ming. Sue does not understand everything, but he asks the girl if she was his bodyguard. She shoots his pillow and Sue realizes that she was not joking around. Xiyu asks him to tell her everything about Long Ming or she would kill him without mercy. Sue has no other option and tells her everything he knows. The story has a great effect on Xiyu and her behavior suddenly changes. She begins to cry and is relieved that Long Ming really lived inside his body. Sue tells her to speak softly so that no one listens to what she is saying. She jumps at him to hug him, but Sue stops her midway. He says that he is not Long Ming but Su Xiaobai. But if she really wanted to create a good impression, he asks her to take him to a special place tomorrow. The next night, Sue is inside a brothel and Xiyu is at the gates guarding it. She is frustrated that he ordered her to do something like this and decides that she will not take orders like this again. Inside the brothel, girls have surrounded Sue and are trying to make a move on him. He looks nervous because he is trying to hold himself and the girls think that he is excessively nervous. He would be in pain whenever he got an erection. The only way to take away Long Ming's bargaining chip was to become used to the pain. That was what Sue was thinking when he went to the brothel. But he is not as resistant to the women or the pain as he thinks and comes out screaming. Xiyu scorns him and calls him a pedophile as she spots him, but Sue tells her that he was doing it to save his own life. She tells him that he needed to take the examination to become a star guard that was coming soon. That was the mandatory step before he was even eligible to sit on the throne. But before he can reply to her, Sue gets nature's call. He finds a quiet street to relieve himself, but he finds a small ball with a mouth. But the small ball is not the only one there. A huge ball-like monster comes at him and there are many smaller ones alongside it. It was a demon-level hunter called a devourer. Xiyu is waiting nearby wondering why Long Ming would choose a person like Su Xiaobai as his replacement. But when she looks for him after hearing the noises, she finds that he was facing a demon-level hunter. There should be no way the hunter could have entered the city. But Sue is not fast enough to dodge the smaller monsters and has to be saved by Xiyu. But she has also identified who was the person who brought the monster into the city. She was watching the battle unfold from a building's roof. Xiyu tells her that it was no use to hide because everyone knew that only one person could bring monsters like this into the city. She calls the girl Auntie. Sue asks her if that woman was Long Ming's wife, but Xiyu tells him that she was only his fiancée. She was going to marry Long Ming once she turned 20. Xiyu taunts Sue by saying that now she would have to marry a pedophile. But the woman jumps down and lands on the hunter. She declares that she has no intention of marrying the man in front of her. If she killed him, there would be no case in which they would get married. The woman is introduced as Mu Yuan or the lady blessed by the blue moon. But Su Xiaobai's heart skips a beat when he sees her. He initially thought that any man who married a woman of her temper would be unlucky, but after seeing her, his thoughts immediately change. She was beautiful and graceful and reminds him of a girl he liked when he was healthy and went to school. He called that girl goddess. He had proposed to her, but his proposal was shot down. He calls her as his goddess and asks if she had come to this world for him. But Mu Yuan slaps him so hard that he is sent crashing into a nearby wall. Xiyu shouts that she would attack her even if she was her auntie. But Mu Yuan tells her that she would not be Xiyu's auntie if she killed the man right now. He was a despicable man who would visit a brothel just one day after he came to the city. But Xiyu tries to argue that he was chosen by Long Ming himself. If Mu Yuan decided to kill him, she would be going against his direct wishes and harming Long Ming himself. But the devourer hunter appears behind her and swallows her whole. Mu Yuan tells her to stay inside the hunter silently and wait for her to kill Su Xiaobai. She calculates that her attack was strong enough to kill him or at least severely wound him. There would not be much longer for him to survive anyway, but she would finish the job with her own hands. As she approaches the place where he crashed into the wall, Su Xiaobai's hand comes out from the dust and almost grabs her, but she moves back in time. She is shocked that he could still move after taking such a serious hit from her. But Su Xiaobai is awake now, and he is ready to fight against a beautiful woman that reminds him of his first love. Would he be able to win against her with just the endlessness of Dim and without any training and experience? Or will he have to be saved by one of his bodyguards? Watch the next video to find the answers to these questions and to see what happens with Su Xiaobai in this weird world.